Hey, what's up you guys? I wish I could just sit here and look like trash for this video, but am I gonna do that? No. So I'm gonna catfish you. Hey, what's up you guys? It's France, and today I thought I was gonna have a serious sit down and kind of talk with you guys about my high school experience. And if you don't relate to having a rough high school experience, I'm very jealous of you, but maybe you can watch this video and kind of get an idea of how maybe the quiet one in your classroom's life was like throughout high school. I'm gonna give you guys some backtrack to my high school story before I got into high school, how I was like. In elementary school, I was a really bubbly kid. I was in art classes after school, I was in music classes after school. I just loved playing outside, I loved riding my bike, I loved hanging out with my mom. I was just like a really normal kid, and I had things that I really liked to do. I always had a lot of friends. I'd always go and sleep over at people's houses and like play Barbies and play GTA when we shouldn't have been playing GTA at a young age. It's crazy stuff. But in elementary school, I never thought about boys. All I cared about in my head was my family and my friends. That's all I cared about in my head. I never cared about boys. I was too young to care about boys. But my family life, looking at it in elementary school, was when everything kind of started going south. My parents were arguing a lot. My mom was dating new people. My mom married someone else. I was seeing my dad every other weekend. That whole typical like divorced family type of situation. I had that as a kid, which a lot of people do have, but mine ended up being a little worse than that. But looking into middle school, I had a lot of friends that were fake. Like if you didn't dress the way they dress kind of thing. And that typical middle school thing, like you can't, literally saying like you can't sit with us if you don't do this, or you don't look this type of way, or I just had really shitty friends, and they were really shitty and they would bully other people. But again, in middle school, I really never cared about boys. Boys were never interested in me. All the people that were in my middle school, all the girls had boyfriends, and they were pretty, and they played volleyball and cheerleading, and they all had these really cool preppy boys that they were dating and switching around with. It was just that type of situation. But boys never ever took interest in me. Boys never liked me, so I never cared about boys. Once again, looking into my family situation in middle school, again, it was really rocky. Now my mom and her new husband were arguing a lot. I started realizing that my mom wasn't completely normal. And I remember in school we had DARE, and that's where I learned about drug and alcohol addiction. And I started putting the pieces together, and I realized that my mom is an alcoholic. And the guy she was married to didn't even realize she was an alcoholic. So I went home and I talked to my stepdad, and I said, I think my mom's an alcoholic. I have a sister, and she was like, oh my god, mom's an alcoholic. And my stepdad didn't believe us until we found my mom's hidden bottles and all the pieces put together. My mom was a closeted alcoholic, and my mom, before figuring out that she was an alcoholic, we would just say it was my mom's mood. I remember growing up, my mom not really being there. I was always in daycare. I was always being watched by somebody else. My mom being really mean sometimes, and then really nice, and everything just being all over the place. So just growing up, before I even knew that my childhood was truly taken away from me, I just remember things not making sense and being really confused, and having family be a twisted definition in my head. Anyways, moving out from middle school, I went to a completely different high school than what was like designated for my middle school. So the high school I went to, I had no friends at. I never had friends throughout high school at all, actually. All my friends were either completely fake, or it only lasted like a week. Sort of like they didn't really want me around kind of thing. Like I was always the one that was the last choice type of thing. Like they're not inviting me anywhere, I'm inviting myself kind of places, or they don't really think to invite me anywhere. So it was always like no one ever wanted me around. And again, looking at boy type of things, boys never liked me, boys never took interest in me. And looking at social media wise when I was in high school, that's when 2012 I think is when Instagram came out. I was really blown up on Instagram. That was when having like 1,000 plus followers was like kind of unheard of. So that was like the scene era, like in my high school. It was cool, and like I had a lot of followers online, but compared to in person, I was just really quiet, kept to myself kind of person. Because again, I was dealing with family issues, and boys never took interest in me, and people never really wanted to like be friends with me or think I was cool. I was always like that lame one, and my sister would always have friends, and I was never like invited to hang out. No one ever wanted to hang out with me, and no one ever thought I was cool. I didn't really have any problems my freshman year. You know, I was all just like a fog, you know, just getting used to, everybody's just getting used to high school. But my sophomore year is kind of when it all took off. I remember there was this really pretty girl, and she had black hair and I had black hair. We're gonna give her a fake name, and I'm gonna say, there's just so many names of people who bullied me. I'm afraid to use any names. I'm gonna say her name was Kayla. So me and Kayla looked really alike. I never once, even from when I first met her before she was ever mean to me, I never thought anything bad about her. I never said anything bad about her, but yeah, I just remember she didn't like me, and people would come up to me that I didn't even know, or people that I kind of knew, they would come up and tell me like in class, like, hey, that girl really doesn't like you. She said this about you. She thinks you're a bitch, and she thinks you're really ugly in person, but your photos are like completely fake and catfishy, and just talking really bad about me. And that really hurt my feelings. So one day, me being me, I just a really real person, I went up to her, and I was not even knowing her, and I said, hey, do you not like me? Like, did I do something wrong? Like, can you let me know what I did wrong to you? And she just looked at me and she smiled, and she was like, I just think you're really pretty, and I follow you on Instagram. And that was that. And I was like, oh, thank you, you're really pretty too. Like, people must just be talking shit for no reason. I don't know, that's just what happened with that situation. That girl's gonna come in again in the story, but that was just a preference, so you know, like, she hated me before I even knew her, and this is a common reoccurrence with bullies in general, and specifically my case. A guy came into my life. My ex-best friend originally liked him, but he actually liked me the whole time, and she ended up not liking him, and ended the story, we ended up dating, and that was my first boyfriend. I remember I'd be in the bathroom, and that girl that was really pretty, she came up to me one day and she was like, so Trevor's talking to you? Like, you really shouldn't talk to him. Like, he's a piece of shit. Like, he's a piece of shit. He's like so gross, like, ew, blah, blah, that's my ex. And I was like, oh, okay, if you think I shouldn't date him, I won't date him. Like, okay, because I cared, once again, and boys never were a thing in my life, so I cared more about this girl, like, trying to have her be my friend more than having this relationship. And then the next day in the bathroom before class, I'd see her and she'd be like, you know, I think you guys would be a good couple. I think you should date. Like, I'd be like, okay, sister, whatever you fucking say. And then, like, the next day, it would be off and on and off and on. Like, she'd be saying, you shouldn't date him, you should date him. At the end of all of it, I was just like, this girl allegedly doesn't even like me. I don't even know her. I'm just gonna do what I want to do. And I've never had a boyfriend before, so someone's taking interest in me. This is, like, really cool. And I like them back, so I started dating him. And I remember holding his hand on the way home from where we were hanging out, and, like, just thinking, like, I've never held anybody's hand before. Like, this is really cool. And, like, even throughout dating him, I never even kissed him. We never had sex. We didn't do anything. Like, I was new to all of this. Like, I kissed him very, very late. We never made out or anything. Like, very late into the relationship we kissed, but, like, it was just I'm just a weird person. Like, I've never been in a relationship, so no one ever taught me those things. And throughout a relationship, this girl and all her friends would bully the heck out of me. They'd yell at me in the hallways, they'd call me ugly, they'd make fake accounts on Instagram pretending to be me. They'd make fake accounts just to harass me and comment on my photos and DM me. They'd take pictures of me and make them into memes and edits, and I'd be yelled at in class, after class, before class, at lunch. Anytime they saw me anywhere, I'd be getting screamed at. And so I think all my bullying really stemmed from really stemmed from me dating this girl's ex, and she was mad about it. And like, what am I supposed to do? Break up with somebody I'm dating because the ex is crazy and is having people bully me? At that point, yes, it was getting so out of hand, but like, it shouldn't ever be that way. But yeah, they'd make videos and fake accounts harassing me, telling me to kill myself, and like making fun of me. And at this point, we're going to go back into my family life, how I was feeling. DCF got involved with my family, and I got taken out of my house and put into foster care, and eventually got put back with my real dad, who at the time we didn't have a good relationship. He was very mean to me. He'd scream at me, and things were just going extremely downhill at home. So having this horrible family situation, not having family to talk to while being bullied at school, like, what do you do when you don't have friends, you don't have family, you don't have anybody to talk to, and then at school you're being harassed? Like, it really, really, really sucked. At this point, I developed an eating disorder that I was oblivious to. I didn't think I had an eating disorder. People would call me anorexic all the time. That was another thing I was being bullied for, because of the way, not only the way I looked in the face and the hair and the way I dressed, but also how my body was. People were bullying me, and I didn't think I was anorexic at the time. But I wouldn't eat at all during the week. I'd eat very, very, very little, if not like once a day, like once every other day. I'd allow myself to eat a very small meal. But on the weekends, I would binge eat. And this is very common with anorexia, is to not eat for long periods of time, and then have a select day where you just binge eat and you eat a bunch of stuff, and then you carry on not eating again for whatever, how many days. I was extremely skinny. I was having a lot of nosebleeds. I was cold all the time. I was sick all the time. I was sleeping a lot in class. I was sleeping so much. Was fainting a lot. And near the end of me and this boy's relationship, I got jumped in class. The girl that bullied me the most was this girl's best friend. And I remember the night before, she had commented on my photo that she hopes my mom drinks herself to death. Knowing that my mom was an alcoholic, and knowing that I was going through child services and all that, and at that point I thought it was getting out of hand. So I went to the principal about it. I specifically went to the principal, showed him the messages, and he said, okay, we're going to get a no contact contract, and we're going to actually suspend this girl. So she was in my class, and like I said, I was sleeping a lot because I was not eating properly and I was depressed. So I was sleeping in class like I was every single day. I was sleeping in class, and I remember hearing the phone ring, and she left, I guess, to go to the discipline office and be told that she was going to be suspended, and we have a no contact contract. And she walked out, and I remember hearing the door open, that she came back, because like I was kind of asleep, kind of not asleep kind of thing, because when you're in class you're still kind of paying attention, like you're still kind of listening. So my head was down, and then I remember hearing like a lot of like boom 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 boom, like someone running or something. And then I remember just sitting up and feeling really dizzy, and then I realized I was being punched in the head. She punched me in the head 3 times, called me a bitch, and then grabbed my hair and slammed my mouth into the bar that was connecting, because at our school we have like desks with chairs, and there's like a bar connecting the chair to the desk, and she slammed my mouth into the desk, and my teeth were bleeding, my lips were bleeding. I was scared that my tooth was gone or something, and I just stood up, and she ran out the classroom, and I stood up and I looked at the entire class, and I started crying, and I remember I said, I'm tired of being bullied. And I walked out the classroom, and I didn't go to school for a few days. I'm just gonna speed this up because it's honestly repetitive. Even after we broke up, my junior year, a group of scene kids decided they hated me, and they bullied the living heck out of me. They would squawk at me in the hallways and call me a bird. I don't know why. They would squawk at me, they'd make fun of me. Anytime I walked past, they'd make fun of me. They'd make fun of me online too. They'd make fake accounts of me. They'd make fun of my makeup, my hair, the way I dressed. And even up until my senior year, I thought it was all over. It wasn't. for the seniors at my school, they hang your senior portrait up in the cafeteria, and someone had literally drawn wings on me and squawk on my senior photo. And I remember just going home crying in my senior year. I had a horrible time. Like I said, again, in my family situation, still going through child services and going to court and all this crazy stuff. And I remember in court, they would tell me, if you need a therapist, we can get you one for free. We were talking about, yeah. So I remember when I was going through court and everything and like having all these hearings, my mom was doing a case plan, which I'm not going to go into depth about how child services works and case plans and stuff, but and how to get custody of your child back, because I'm just not getting into that. But going through child services, you get a lot of benefits, and so they recommended me a therapist, and I constantly denied, like, I don't have any mental issues. I understand it's just my way of life, like it's something that happened and I move on past it, whatever. Like, I was completely fine. Now that I'm all out of child services and they're no longer helping me or giving me aid for anything, and I'm living out on my own, no longer living with family, friends, talking to any of my real parents or anything like that, I realize that I have extreme anxiety, I'm depressed, I am borderline suicidal sometimes, I would say. I realize that I really do wish I would have went through therapy, because my thoughts on families and relationships and friends and my insecurities are out of this world from being bullied and my family situation and what the hurtful things were said from my family to me when my mom was drunk, and which I'm not going to go into detail about because I'm not going to put my mom on blast like that. Or my dad on blast like that, or my sister on blast in her life. But from all my twisted thoughts on my image and everything, I really wish I had a therapist now, or I had a therapist back then, because I think I could have been a lot different now. When I would tell other people about me being bullied, they'd say they're just jealous of you, and I would never listen. But hearing my own bullies tell me they were jealous of me really gave me closure on that. I just wish I would have understood it back then. People called me a hoe and a whore and a thought and all these things, and I wouldn't understand why, because again, I never had a boyfriend until very late. Only ever kissed him, never even made out, never even seen a dick in my life. Someone told me, oh, we all called you a whore because so-and-so saw you having sex at a party. One, I was never in my life invited to a party. I've never been invited to a party, but that's a really cool story. But I've also never had sex before. I was still a virgin throughout high school. Although this video is very invasive, making myself very vulnerable, and really embarrassing to want to say that today I'm unapologetically myself. I no longer have an eating disorder, although sometimes I do struggle with self-image, which any girl does, which is completely normal. But I'm no longer starving myself to look a certain way. I'm no longer changing everything about myself as soon as someone says something bad about me, because people who hate on you are jealous of you. 100% they're jealous of you, and you probably have something that they want, whether it be in your personality or the way you look. They are jealous of you. If someone takes the time out of their day to make a fake account and harass you, and takes the time out of their day to go draw on your picture with a Sharpie or yell at you in the hallway, they're not haters, they're followers. They are obsessed with you. If you're going out of your way to harass anybody, even if you really genuinely don't like that person, and you have a reason not to like that person, you're going out of the way to harass them, you're obsessed with them, you love them, and you need to focus on yourself. I can say it gets better, but it gets better and it gets worse and it repeats. It really does. I can say that I'm not 100% happy now. I've never been in a real relationship till this day. I don't think of myself better than any other person. I don't think of myself as super beautiful or super skinny and perfect. Like, I'm a very humble person, so although I may look like this on the outside, on the inside, I am extremely humble. I am extremely accepting. I don't mean to boost myself up so much, but that's honestly how I feel on the inside. I I'm just a very nice, real person, and I'll tell it how it is all the time. I'm not fake at all. If you're still in high school, I'm really making this video towards you, and I want to say if you're being bullied online or in person, or you have a bad family situation, it gets better. If you have a bad family situation, graduate high school, push yourself to graduate through high school so you can have that diploma and you can do bigger and better things than what your family's doing. You can show them how wrong they were and how they should have been nice to you, because now you're that child that's doing great. And you're gonna have your own place, and you're gonna get your own car, and you're gonna have an amazing future. Just tell yourself that and actually do it. Graduate high school, get your own place, move out, and make your life how you wish it would have been, and show your family and prove to them that they were wrong. If you're being bullied, don't fight back, don't reply, block everybody who leaves mean comments. If people are being mean to you in person, don't even say anything to them. Don't do anything. I feel like even after I record this video, I've tried to record this many times. I feel like I'm gonna feel like I didn't really get to say everything I wanted to say, but I don't want this to be 30 minutes long. I'm probably gonna cut a lot of things out, but if anybody has any questions or wants to talk to me about anything, because maybe you feel like you can't talk to your family or you don't have friends to talk to, DM me, Snapchat me. All my social media links will be on the screen, and they'll also be linked down below. I'm sorry this was a really serious video when all of my videos are kind of jokes and kind of funny story times, but I want to remind you guys to stay positive and forever be unapologetically yourself.